If you're losing weight but you don't look better, you might be losing the wrong thing. And most people don't realize that's happening until the metabolism slows down and the weight comes back. I see this constantly with years being in the weight loss business. The scale's going down, you get excited, but you may not realize what's actually being lost. Because weight loss and fat loss are not the same thing. So let's break it down. Weight loss requires an energy deficit. That part is real. But here's what most people don't understand. When you're in a deficit, your body doesn't selectively burn fat. Sometimes you're gonna burn fat if it's a proper deficit, or you can lose muscle if the deficit's not correct. Now that may not sound like a big deal at first until you understand what muscle actually does. Muscle is not just for aesthetics, it's metabolically active tissue. It helps you burn calories at rest, improves insulin sensitivity, shapes how you look or how your physique looks, and it protects long-term fat loss. When you lose weight, if your metabolism is in a good spot, it's easier to manage it. So when your muscle drops, your metabolic rate drops, which means you burn fewer calories doing nothing. So to recap, when your muscle mass goes down, your metabolism follows and goes down. And now fat loss gets harder. So now we understand two things. One, weight loss pulls from muscle and fat. Two, muscle protects your metabolism. So the question becomes, why does muscle loss happen so easily? So now let's talk about why muscle loss happens. One of the biggest culprits is people don't eat enough protein. They go on a calorie deficit or they cut back on their food. They're not consuming enough protein, and a lot of times lack of protein equals muscle loss. Protein intake drops during weight loss. The body doesn't have the raw materials to preserve lean muscle tissue. So number one, lack of protein. Another reason why muscle loss happens is no resistance training or lack thereof. A lot of people go on a diet, they worry about just cutting back on their food. They're not signaling the muscle or giving the body a reason to keep muscle, and that if you're not lifting, you're not signaling the body to keep that muscle tissue you have. So lack of physical strength training or weight training is another cause of muscle loss. Another reason why you're losing muscle is a lot of times people go on an aggressive deficit. I'm a big fan of having a small deficit. You deficit a little bit from food, a little bit from physical activity output, and then usually your body can adapt and keep muscle tissue, and you're gonna lose weight and mostly fat loss. But a lot of people go on these starvation diets, they eat 500 calories, they're taking GLP agonists, and they're just not hungry and they're not eating, and that aggressive deficit basically causes the body to lose not just fat tissue, but a ton of muscle tissue in the process. Last but not least, high stress or appetite suppression. A lot of times people get stressed out, they're not eating enough food. Once again, it's going back to a severe caloric deficit. Body downregulates. It's easier to get rid of muscle that consumes calories versus hanging on to the fat that provides calories. And now your body adapts and your metabolism sucks. So now we understand the common reasons why muscle loss happens. And this is where the conversation becomes especially important right now, because we're living in a time where weight loss is happening faster than ever. So as a reminder, low protein decreases muscle mass, decreased metabolism. No lifting, no signal for your body to want to even keep muscle. Extreme deficits, your body will adapt. And what I mean by that is if you're not eating enough food, if you're losing muscle tissue, the body will try to downregulate the metabolism. It'll adapt it so you can live with whatever food you consume, and you get stuck. What happens now? I either have to take my food lower to create a deficit to lose weight, or I have to do more work, more output to create a deficit so I can lose weight. So at the end of the day, you want to prevent the body from adapting. Don't lose muscle. So now with the rise of GLP agonist medications, we're seeing appetite suppression at a level we've never seen before. And that's not inherently bad, but appetite suppression without structure is where muscle loss creeps in. So we all know GLP agonists can reduce appetite. A lot of times though, it's reducing it too much, and a lot of that has to do with the dosing of it. So you have a ton of people in the world that are not hungry. There's no appetite. They're not eating nowhere near the food they used to eat, and honestly lower than they probably should eat. So the calories are in an extreme deficit, which we talked about earlier. A lot of times you're not having food. They're probably not prioritizing protein, which we know preserves lean muscle tissue. So their protein consumption's down, and in turn, their muscle tissue goes down. Let's add another layer to that. If they're not physically strength training, giving the body a reason to hold muscle, the muscle mass comes off. And now between the extreme deficit from the GLPs and them not physically being active, now you have a damaged metabolic rate. Don't get me wrong, GLP agonists or medications used correctly are okay, but the issue isn't the medication. The issue is the missing structure that people don't put with the GLPs. So let's talk about how to lose fat without losing muscle. This right here should be your muscle preservation strategy. Number one, you should be trying to consume 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound. So if you weigh 140 pounds, 140 grams. You weigh 180 pounds, 180 grams. Second to that, making sure that you're actually physically strength training 3 or 4 times per week. Give your body a reason to keep your muscle tissue as you're losing weight. Try to avoid crash dieting or extreme deficits, which we talked about. Obviously with GLP-1 use, people are just not eating, they're starving off, and the starvation's causing the problem. So make sure you're in a proper deficit, a little bit from food, a little bit from, exercise or output. Monitor your strength. If you're on a caloric deficit and the deficit's too low and your weights are going backwards in the gym every single week, that's a sign that you're not having enough fuel to be able to keep the muscle that you have. So monitor your strength. Keep an eye on that, and then you adjust accordingly. Last but not least, refeeding or having a refeed strategy. A lot of people go into weight loss like, hey, I want to lose 100 pounds or 200 pounds, and they go hard, and all of a sudden 3 or 4 weeks in, they hit a wall. If you were on a severe deficit, it might happen sooner, but once they hit that wall, a lot of times they haven't been fed. The body has not had enough calories in a long period of time. And something like a small diet break or something like a high calorie meal actually replenishes your system, your muscle glycogen, and it gets you ready to kind of keep losing weight. A lot of times when people go on a weight loss program, after about 3 or 4 weeks, body's like, I don't have enough food. I don't know when I'm getting fed. And it starts pumping the brakes on how much fat your body wants to get rid of. The minute you put calories back in, body says, I'm fed, I'm okay, I'm not dying. You go on a calorie deficit, it starts going again. So having strategic refeeds will help you break plateaus and have consistent weight loss through the process. So now I want to show you a simple illustration of what 5 pounds of fat looks like and what 5 pounds of muscle looks like. Same weight, different density, very different appearance. So if you're losing weight quickly, but you're looking flat, softer, smaller, and not better, it may be muscle. The scale doesn't tell what you lost. It tells you you've lost something or something's changed. And if that change includes muscle, you've made that long-term fat loss harder. Rapid weight loss may feel exciting, but muscle preservation is what makes it sustainable. Lose fat, keep muscle, upgrade your metabolism. That's how you win.